In order to 300% Cuphead, we have to get all 42 achievements, buy every single item, P rank every run and gun, and A rank every boss in the game, including the DLC on expert difficulty. But perhaps most difficult of all, we need to complete the tutorial to collect this coin. Now, I'm not being entirely fair to the game journalists because I've already beaten this game before about 7 years ago now. But from back then, I remember that our pea shooter starting weapon isn't very good. So after getting 3 more coins from this apple fellow, I visited Porkrind's shop to buy a new one. Spread is really good. I think I'll do roundabout first, but I do want to get both. In order to get more coins to buy spread, we need to enter our first run and gun level. I find the run and guns to be some of the most difficult content in this game, but being the first level, this one is pretty easy. After completing the level, we get graded on how well we performed. Though to 300% this game, the only grade we're concerned with is the P rank, which requires you to complete the level without killing any enemies. And after giving it a few tries, I decided to leave that for later. In the meantime, we can enter our first boss fight. Now, at its core, Cuphead is a pretty simple game. You start out with 3 lives, and as you deal damage to the boss, you will build up your super meter. Once you have a full card, you can expend it to fire an EX attack, which will deal a big burst of damage. You can also build up your meter by parrying, and as a general rule, you can parry anything that is pink in this game. Just like in the run and guns, we get graded on how we performed, and we're looking for at least an A- on every boss in this game to get 5 different achievements. I actually did this first try, but I didn't realize A- was good enough yet. I'll eventually figure it out a few bosses later, but on the plus side, this allowed me to get another achievement. While the root pack was super easy, there are significantly more difficult bosses to face even on this first aisle. Oh shit. But by far the most difficult part of this fight was the final phase. They turn into a slot machine that will cycle randomly between 3 different attack patterns, all of which were pretty tricky to handle while I was still getting a feel for the game's movement. Alright, retry, we got close. I was able to defeat it on the next attempt, but I missed out on the A rank because I didn't have enough parries. Unfortunately, there are some parryable objects in this game that won't count towards your parry score. The arm of the slot machine is one such example, which means that I have to land all 3 parries in the first phase, which proved to be rather tricky. In total, it took me a good 15 minutes to finally A-rank this guy. Dude, complete level without getting hit. That's a perfect run. Let's go. Goopy Legrand is a joke of a boss by comparison, and I'm a little ashamed to say that it took me more than 1 try to get our A rank, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. Afterwards, I traveled north to find Hilda, our first plain boss fight. It's quite a long fight and is honestly one of the trickier bosses we fought so far, but to my surprise, I A-ranked it on my second try. However, we're not quite done with this boss yet, because one of the achievements in this game requires you to defeat a boss using only the mini plane bullets. How, though? What's the range on this? How are we gonna do that? Brother. Not only do you have to get incredibly close to get damage in, but the mini plane deals just half of the normal plane's damage. I like how I just have 1 health. Not a fan of that. Come on. Do I want to get close here? Is it worth? Probably not. I'll probably just wait for this one. Okay. I think I get it. This one attempt took 5 minutes. We still had about a quarter of the fight left in easily the hardest phase. I gave it a few more attempts before calling it quits because my chat told me that this achievement would be easier to complete if we save it for later. So instead, I decided to tackle the other run and gun on this aisle. And again, I don't know if I'm just particularly bad at these, but I found this so much harder than any of the boss fights on this aisle. There's a much bigger focus on platforming in these levels compared to most of the boss fights, and there's also just a lot going on. That took way too long, but we got it. With the coins from that level, I went back to Porkrind to buy the Smoke Bomb charm, which turns Cuphead invincible while dashing. As you can imagine, this charm is incredibly broken, and it will be my go-to charm for the majority of the game. With that, there was just 1 boss to take on. I found Katie to be one of the more difficult fights we've done so far because space felt much more limited due to the various projectiles and hazards present in the area. Thankfully, Roundabout allowed me to focus purely on dodging. No matter which direction I'm facing, I'm getting damage in thanks to the boomerang effect. And it also deals slightly more damage than the pea shooter anyway. A rank or higher on all bosses in Inkwell Aisle 1. There we go. Before moving on to the next aisle, I had one last look around to double check that I didn't miss anything. Oh, I found a shortcut. Our search was not nearly thorough enough because we're still missing a couple things, but we'll be back for them eventually. As you can imagine, the second aisle takes things up a notch. I started with Jimmy, and things were going alright until we reached this phase. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ouch. Alright, how far do we get? Okay, not bad. It took a couple tries to get back there, but now that I knew what to expect, I was able to make it past. Oh, this is evil. Maybe it's not, but it looks evil. Whoa, okay. That's cool. Never mind. Easy. I took on Beppy the Clown next, and if it weren't for the stinky donkey phase, I'm convinced I would have done this within just a couple tries. I found it pretty difficult to get hits in on this boss while dodging the projectiles in the train. Sometimes you can invalidate large chunks of this phase by standing right underneath the boss, but you have to make sure the train isn't coming, otherwise you'll get trapped. Am I just dead here? Yeah. Okay. Eventually, after 10 minutes of attempts, I finally made it past the donkeys. Oh, what are we doing? Holy shit. Okay. Did we get it? Did we get enough parries and everything? Yeah, okay. That's good enough. We'll take it. The Baroness von Bonbon fight is like 4 mini-bosses baked into one fight. She'll randomly select 3 of her 5 subjects to send out and battle you, most of which I found quite easy to deal with, but for whatever reason this candy corn guy threw me for a loop. But after a couple more attempts, I got the hang of it and caught a glimpse of the final phase. Oh, we're already there. Okay. So who do I hit here? It's been a good 7 years now since I played this game, so I was a little fuzzy on the boss fights. But eventually I realized that we were supposed to hit, you know, the boss. But once I realized that, this phase went a lot smoother. Yeah, there we go. Afterwards, my chat told me to go back to the first aisle because I completely missed the mausoleum. Within these mausoleums, you can't use your weapons and instead must parry the enemies to defeat them before they reach this chalice. It serves as a good parry practice and a great way to get the 100 parries achievement. And as a reward for completing the mausoleum, we get a first super called Energy Beam. In exchange for 5 cards, we dish out a very strong attack that will make it much easier to satisfy the super meter criteria. Speaking of things I completely missed, there's a hidden coin on each of the 4 aisles that we'll be needing to collect in order to buy out Porcrine's shop for the achievement. This one is by far the easiest one to find, so the fact that I walked right past it several times was not a good look. I then bought the Heart Charm, which I kind of regret because I don't think I used it once, and while I do need to buy everything from his shop at some point anyway, I definitely would have been better off getting the Chaser weapon here, and you'll soon see why. But before that, it was time to take on Wally Warbles. The first phase wasn't too bad. I loved the Bullet Hell phase 2 and found the final 2 phases to be a fun challenge. I made it to the final phase on my first 2 tries, however, I really struggled to get damage in, and was forcing myself into bad positions in an attempt to do so. How do we hit this guy? You have another weapon? Oh, yeah, you're right. We do have another weapon. And we're dead. But that makes sense. Okay, we got it. Wally may have been easy this time, but he'll be back later with a vengeance. I then entered the second mausoleum to get our second super, which I was told was really bad. It gives you invulnerability, but for just a brief moment of time, and you're usually better off just dealing a ton of damage to end the fight quicker than using this to dodge an attack or 2. That being said, we'll still find a use for this one later on. At this point, there's only one boss left on aisle 2, but before we get to that, I decided to try the running guns to get more coins. Oh, okay. Dude, I do not like this. The reverse gravity mechanic can be fairly tricky, but we had yet to see the literal wall of this level. In order to get past this wall, we have to somehow aim at this eye in the center while dodging the oncoming traffic and smooching projectiles. This running gun is evil. Eventually, my chat told me about an alternative way to get past the wall, but it wasn't much easier. If you can manage to travel through the mouth after the cars have gone by and before it closes while also avoiding the trumpets, you can get past without needing to damage it. It took a few tries, but I eventually made it past only to realize this level is just getting started. I'm just gonna run. Fuck. These damn stars. What? Had we bought the Chaser weapon before, these walls would be much easier because all of our shots would track straight to the eye and we could just focus purely on dodging. It absolutely was in my best interest to do the other running gun for the coins, buy the Chaser, and then come back to this one. But instead, I decided to bash my head against this wall for 15 minutes until I finally reached the boss at the end of the level. No, not one of these things! Uh-oh, indeed. I'm so dead. Man. Alright, we're getting the Chaser. Surely this one's easier. It took a few tries to get through, but it definitely was easier. No! I guess I was worried that the hot dog would have a lingering hitbox after it died. It didn't, but on the next attempt, I decided not to colossally choke at the end, and that seemed to do the trick. Alright. So stay down here. I don't know what this is, but it might be good. Dude, we killed that so fast. Dude. Oh my god. 2 tries with a chaser, that's all it took. Afterwards, I picked up Lobber from the shop and made my way towards the final boss of Isle 2, and it's definitely the most difficult. All the Phase 1 attacks are telegraphed and quite slow, but we're tasked with avoiding them while also navigating between the clouds. In Phase 2, most of your shots will miss if you're not on one of the lower clouds, but you really don't want to be on those lower clouds because you'll have less time to react to these jumping flame enemies. While we could use Chaser here, we don't want to rely on this one too much because it only deals about half of the damage of a roundabout, and if we take too long to defeat the boss, our grade will suffer. Instead, my chat told me to try out the Lobber. This weapon has great damage, but the projectiles have a pretty steep drop-off to them. However, in boss fights like this one, that drop-off works to our advantage. There we go. Okay, 2 lives. We got the parries. Hit this. Uh-oh. Gotta be careful not to hit those. It's really hard, though. Yeah, there we go. Thanks to that Lobber suggestion, we got that boss down in just over 10 minutes, which means we're moving on to the next Isle. I took on Honey Bottoms first, and I struggled quite a bit on the first few attempts. The security beast stays low down in the arena, so to get consistent damage in, I went down to that same level. But that makes it much harder to dodge and parry the spike bomb, and of course, I'm now putting myself at risk of falling into the honey. So I swapped over to Chaser, and immediately we were doing much better. Bro? I was able to use Lobber here and there in the fight, but for that last phase with how tricky it is to dodge and where the boss is positioned, I felt much more comfortable using Chaser. Okay, that one was way harder, but we got it. I found Captain Brinybeard to be much easier and A-ranked it first try. Next, I gave Calamaria a few attempts, and even got to the final phase. Oh, I didn't see that. But afterwards, I realized that Smoke Dash is probably not the best run to be using in these plane fights. It still activates when you transform into the small plane, but the window of invulnerability felt much shorter. So I went back to Pork Rind to buy the Coffee Charm. This charm will passively fill our super meter throughout the fight. It's quite gradual, but over the course of a 2-minute fight, it will grant you nearly an entire extra super. Oh, and while taking this break from the boss fight, I also went back to the second Isle to search for the hidden coin. Unlike the first, this one is not visible on the map whatsoever. And it's in a spot that the player has no reason to walk past. So while I'm wandering around like an idiot trying to find it, consider subscribing if you're enjoying the video so far. Can't get... Oh, what? There? Back to Calamaria. Most of the fight was very manageable until we reached the final phase. The walls of the arena are filled with this coral stage hazard, and periodically these spiky walls will show up and the boss will shoot bubble skeleton projectiles at you. None of these things are actually hard to avoid, provided you have control over your character. That is tough. Okay. You see, if you get hit by this giant green projectile that basically spans across the entire arena, you'll be petrified and will have to pray that you can mash out of it before you get hit by anything. Sometimes you get turned to stone in a bad spot, and you just have to sit there and accept that there's nothing you could have really done about it. So all I could do was prioritize getting to that phase with as many lives as possible and hope for the best. There we go. Okay, that was one of the harder ones. That's good. Unfortunately for us, this isn't even the hardest plane fight on this Isle, but we'll get to that one in a bit. In the meantime, I defeated Sally's stage play second try, but missed out on a parry, so I had to go back in. And this time around, I made sure to stall out that last phase for the third parry. But that should be good, that should be good. Unless we stalled too long, but... Oh. It took us too long. So, naturally, I decided to just not get hit on our second attempt, which meant that we only needed one parry for the A-. Afterwards, I went into the third mausoleum, and while things definitely had been taken up a notch from the last one, none of these parry challenges were particularly difficult. As for the super, to be honest, I don't think I tried it once, so I have no idea how good it is. But I'm going to guess not very, because not once did someone recommend it. Similarly to the last fight, my biggest struggle here was not getting enough parries, so once again, I decided to just not get hit. And with that, we can talk about Dr. Cal's robot. I'm gonna struggle with this fight? Uh-oh. Good luck. I don't like that. Okay, what am I hitting? Phase 1 has 3 different parts that you need to take out, all 3 of which will be sending out some sort of projectile or projectiles at you, so the fight gets very cluttered very fast. However, once you've taken out these parts, it doesn't get easier, because rather than just disabling the weapon, it gets subbed out for a new, arguably more difficult one to avoid. Okay, wow, yeah, we didn't get far. Once you destroy all 3 parts, his heart will come out and you have to continue to survive the onslaught of attacks until you destroy it. Which brings us to the next phase, where his head will pop off and fly around the screen. It's very hard to get damage during this phase because you won't be on screen for too long, and half the time it's coming right at you, or there'll be bombs that you need to avoid instead. Damn, okay. Thankfully, that phase doesn't have much health, so if you save your super for it, you can basically skip the whole thing in exchange for spending more time in the first phase. But that was a price I was willing to pay. Which brings us to the final bullet hell phase. This phase is super long, so you really want to get as many parries in as possible to try and super him down. Bomb him? Oh, come on! There's no way! There we go. I think that's good enough. A clean A-. The last boss fight to tackle on this isle was the Phantom Express. It wasn't too bad once I remembered how the fight worked, and it took me a little over 10 minutes to A-rank it. There we go. We did it. Defeat every boss in Inkwell Isle 3. But before we get to the final 2 bosses of the game in Inkwell Isle Hell, I've finally decided to stop procrastinating on P-ranking the run-and-guns. Okay, we're back to the very start, like 4 hours later. As I mentioned earlier, in order to get a P-rank, we have to complete a run-and-gun without killing any enemies. Obviously, if you can't kill any enemies, there are more things that will be able to hit you, and that makes the level just plain harder. However, the inability to clear enemies will often have much more severe implications. Okay, so I should be able to just... Oh. I thought you could just smoke bomb through that. Can you not? You can't just smoke bomb your way through this final boss. I tried using the invincibility super along with the smoke dash, but that didn't seem to work either. So it seemed like our only option was to bait a parryable spore shroom projectile from one of these mushroom enemies, such that it would travel at the perfect height to allow us to parry it and get over the acorn maker. However, this is much easier said than done because they don't always shoot the parryable spore version, and it's hard to line it up while you're trying to dodge the barrage of other enemies and projectiles. We died many times here. But eventually, one of my viewers said they remembered something about the invincibility super giving you a bit of extra lift when you activate it. So after missing this parry, I decided to give it a shot. Oh, that works! That works! Just go! Oh my god. Boom! 1 down, 5 more to go. Treetop Trouble was much easier now that I acquainted myself with the game's movement again, and using the same tactic from before, we could easily make it past the mini-boss. Okay. Next up is Funfair Fever. This one was tricky because you had to get past this row of cannons, which required a precise smoke dash that I was really bad at hitting, and then we stumble across this shooting range mini-boss. Another very tall, very wide boss. I just gotta try it, but yeah, we're dead. Technically, you can smoke dash through this one, but you'll be forced to take a hit in the process. Okay, made it past. But we're not done yet, because we still have to navigate the final leg of the level without the luxury of being able to clear out the jumping pretzels. Okay, what the hell do I do? Not that. That's for sure. Oh, we did it. Okay. I was really dreading this next run and gun because it was the one that I really struggled with and was only able to finally beat it once I Chaser, which of course we won't be able to use. And there we go. Now, genuinely, I have no idea what came over me here, but I absolutely locked in on my second attempt. Okay, what the hell do I do here? Do I go through there? Yes! Oh, dude! Dude, we did it! And then imagine I hit something by accident. We're gonna find out. Easy. Okay, the last 2 are out. I haven't even done the last 2. Let's go see what we're in for. The plan was to complete the levels normally for the coins and then work on P rank after that, so we don't have to worry about grabbing them every time. The Rugged Ridge doesn't start off so bad. There's a bunch of goats that throw boomerang pickaxes at you and some scales that will drop off the screen if you stay on them too long. But the difficulty would quickly ramp up. What? Why does dude have so much health? Damn. Oh my god. Shit. Wow, we were not close. This one's huge. Things get marginally easier after the elevator section, though maybe not in a pacifist setting, and eventually we reach the end of the level and have to outrun the Cyclops and platform our way to the finish line. No. Oh, dude, we're so close. Okay, well that hurts to see. That was only our 4th try, and it looked like our first clear was right around the corner. No, I missed the coin. That's so tragic. I ended up playing it out, but I went back and grabbed it on the next try before going for the P rank. P ranking the start of this level isn't too bad. We can smoke dash through the goats and just dash over the lions. The goat right before the elevator can be tricky, but I would later find out that if you're careful, you can jump onto the corner of his platform without taking damage. Oh my god. Oh, they disappear. Okay, I thought there was just gonna be like 8 enemies through that whole thing. Go, let me go. Oh. I see. You parry to get up and then get over them. Got it. And then from there, the last portion of the level is the exact same whether you're going for P rank or not. So this didn't actually look too bad. Okay, don't choke. Brother? Brother? I didn't have that much trouble with this final section when we did this level normally, and as I said before, it's the exact same on pacifist, but the pressure must have been getting to me. Just dash there, dude. Yes, there it is. Okay, we got it. And so there was just 1 P rank left, and it's easily the most difficult. The start of the level is tricky, but it's no more difficult than anything we've already seen. The final stretch, however, is just vile. What is this? The ending sucks. I was struggling despite having the immense benefit of being able to take out most of the fish before they reach me. This is gonna be evil, this last part. Oh my god. Are you joking? Are you joking? Oh! Oh no, this is the right one. Okay, I was getting scared. There you go. So it was time to start the P rank attempts, and it was somehow worse than I had imagined. Oh my god, dude, this is insane. On the next attempt, I managed to make it to the octopus with 3 lives, but I think my internet provider could sense the imminent choke because my stream went down before I could embarrass myself. But thankfully, I was local recording, so you all get the pleasure of watching it here on YouTube. Wrong way. It's fine. I just didn't move. Dude. The next attempt, I had just 1 life going into this section, so I kind of wrote it off, but that seemed to work in my favor. And if you thought the last choke was bad, well... Whoa! No! How did I not make it? No. Come back. Come back. At this point, I had to stop and consider a career in game journalism because this is just laughable at this point. Did I hit something? I didn't. Okay. I thought I had enough. We did it. We did it. Yes. Dude, if I killed something at the very end. Oh my god. Did we ever find the hidden coin on this level? I can't remember. It's a booth. It is a booth. Receive a gold coin. Sweet. Inkwell Hell. There's a gold coin. This is a very unique boss fight because we have to get to the end of this board game before we can fight King Dice. All of the red spaces have a corresponding mini-boss, and there are heart spaces that you want to aim for to keep your health up throughout the fight. None of the mini-bosses are very hard, but even with the extra lives, it's easy to make a mistake or two against certain bosses and fail to make it to the end. And of course, some of the mini-bosses are much more tedious than others. Oh. Yeah, I think I'm... Can I hit him yet? Oh, I don't think I can. I have to parry these, don't I? Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Okay, got him. Now just don't hit the one. Go for the two. Go for the two. There we go. All right. Well, that was pretty good. That was good, eh, guys? So, we have to do the whole thing all over again. But on the bright side, that fail paved the way to me unlocking this Porcelain Power achievement. I got to King Dice quite a few attempts in a row, but I was stupidly not realizing I could just parry the same card more than once to make it easier for me. But it was very easy once I realized my mistake. Parry 5 times before hitting the ground. There we go. Achievement. Oh, damn, I meant to use my EXs. Okay, doesn't matter. We got it. Defeat King Dice without taking a hit. I swear we took a hit there. Am I crazy? I guess the achievement is health-based, but I certainly won't complain. And so it was time to get our final A rank in the base game. The Devil has a plethora of attacks in the first phase that you have to learn how to avoid, while also dealing with the demon adds that will periodically spawn. I found this phase to be the hardest because not only are there all sorts of different attacks to figure out, but the later phases are extremely susceptible to our spread weapon. Any fight with large hitboxes, especially those that are in the background like the Devil here, will allow for all spread shots to hit at once without putting yourself at risk, and when every shot is connecting, the DPS on this thing is unrivaled. Damn, what? So despite entering phase 2 with just 1 health, this run went very far. Oh, dude. Oh, we almost got him. We almost got him already. The fight was definitely still difficult though because of that first phase, and it would take quite a few more attempts before I would reach the final phase again. Okay, what is this? Oh, right, that's what this is. Yeah, there we go. Let's go, dude. Hey, 7 hours, 20 minutes. Not bad. There's also another ending where you can choose to instead sell out to the Devil rather than fighting him, and this will trigger an alternate ending and an achievement. With that, we've hit 100%, so it is now time to enter the DLC. And like I said before, I last played this game 7 years ago now, well before the DLC was even released. So from here on out, I'm going in completely blind. Here we get the Astral Cookie Charm, which will allow us to play as Chalice in boss fights, but only if we hand over Mugman. And that's a price I'm willing to pay because, as you will soon see, Chalice is incredibly broken. Our quest for this DLC is to gather ingredients from the various bosses to allow Chalice to permanently come back to life without sacrificing poor Mugman. There are definitely going to be some growing pains here because not only are these DLC bosses much more difficult than the ones in the base game, but also Chalice has different abilities. Now, most of these abilities are flat-out upgrades. Chalice starts with 4 life instead of 3, has a double jump, and even has an invincible dodge roll to replace Smoke Bomb, which I may or may not have totally missed for basically all of the DLC fights. But one change in particular will really take some time getting used to. Rather than hitting the jump button to parry, we have to use our dash. Alright. That's gonna take me some time to remember. But perhaps most broken of all is Chalice's Super 2, Shield Pow. Rather than just getting a few seconds of invulnerability, this super gives you a shield that stays up until it takes a hit for you. This is much more practical because you can use it as soon as possible and start building up meter for the next shield while the previous one is still active. As for this boss fight, it requires you to have really good spatial awareness. There are gnomes that will gradually spawn underneath you and either shoot flames at you or try to bash you with a hammer. The platforms also move up and down, and of course, the boss is attacking you at the same time. This problem persists in the second phase where you have to dodge the ball being bounced back and forth, while also avoiding the gnomes that are poking up through the ground and being tossed up into the air. To help with ad control, my chat recommended Crack Shot. This is a DLC weapon that shoots a straight shot before breaking into a less powerful homing projectile. The homing shot does slightly more DPS than Chaser, making it better right off the bat, but it also has the benefit of dealing full damage if you're up close to your target. In Phase 1 and 2, I noticed a huge difference, and the fight was much easier now that I was cutting down on that gnome count. In the final phase, the boss stays above you and moves side to side. You have to navigate between these platforms while also dodging the various projectiles being tossed into the air, which will sink any platforms they land on. As you can imagine, Crackshot is really good here too, because again, we can just purely focus on dodging. Okay. That one was hard. Snow Cult Scuffle. The first phase of this fight is quite easy, you just have to watch out for the ads. But then this snow beast shows up. Oh, I can double jump, right? Holy shit! Okay, that guy's insane. After a few more attempts, I managed to get to the last phase without taking any damage. Okay, what's going on? Oh, what? Dude, what? This guy's insane? What's happening? No. Once I swapped over to Roundabout, that last phase went by much faster, and now that I knew what I was in for, it wasn't so bad. This part's kind of hard. Okay, we got it. We got the parries, so that should be good. Doggone dog fight. This is probably a crack. Oh. Oh, that comes back. I see. Okay. This one so far seems easier, though. Then what is this? Can I hit these guys? Oh, I see. Okay. What does this do? This is sick. Am I hitting the sides? Oh, I can parry that. What am I hitting? What is going on? Oh, this is terrible. I hate this. I hate all of this. No, I'm so bad at these. I'm so bad at these. Okay, can you not parry that? I tried to dash into it. The phase 3 gets a little harder, I will say. I loved the idea behind this boss fight, and to my surprise, with a little bit of neck craning, I was able to defeat it on just my 3rd attempt. I'm turning my head. We're doing it again. Okay. Yes. Got it. Oh, dude. A+. Okay, let's see what this is all about. Oh, not the plane. This fight was pure chaos. There's so much going on, and it makes for a really fun and challenging plane fight. This was also the first time I've seen Chalice's plane, and I quickly realized I was not a fan. Her bullets have a spread to them, which makes it quite difficult to get all of them to land. Luckily, this boss has a large hitbox for most of the fight, so it didn't impact us too heavily here, but she definitely will not be my go-to for plane levels moving forward. On my 4th try, I managed to reach the final phase, and it was easily my favorite part of the fight. Whoa. What? I'm just gonna go for it, because if not, I think I'm gonna die. Oh, that's bad. That's really bad. Yes! Okay. Dude. Crazy ass fight. I won't lie, I got really lucky here because that fight is so difficult. Alright, bootlegger boogie. The moonshine mob starts out pretty easy. The boss walks around pretty slow and you really just have to watch out for the ads and these bombs. Okay. Bro? I'm confused. No! I haven't gotten any parries in. And I don't think that's a... It was pink, but... Can I parry that? Yes. Dude, did we just do that? What? Wait, what happened? I looked away. Okay, how do I roll, by the way? Rolling completely invalidates this boss's second phase. It's a little worse than Smoke Dash because you can't do it in the air, but combined with the rest of Chalice's benefits, she far exceeds Smoke Dash. Okay. Alright. So now it's just this guy at the end. Oh my god. There we go. Defeat every boss in Inkwell Isle 4. I didn't get an achievement for the A. Yeah, our time was too slow. But we did get the last ingredient. Now we can just be Chalice. Plus, we can probably put on a different ability, I'm guessing. After the fight, I finally found the Miss Chalice tutorial and was able to grab this coin. And if you were thinking Chalice plus a charm seems too good to be true, well, what the hell? Is this the final boss? Yeah. I'm thinking yeah. I'll save you, Mugman, don't worry. Saltbaker is such a cool fight. It's a chaotic bullet hell, and I loved how they baked in all the different ingredients that we gathered into his attacks. Whoa. What a cool fight. Alright, buddy. Let's go. So am I... Alright, we got far. We got far for the first phase. Or first try, I mean. Wait, are they sneezing? I didn't realize. The pepper shakers. That's good, awesome. This phase is hard. Okay, we got it to the next one. Oh. That was so slow, too. Let's keep it going. We can do this. We can do this. After a couple more attempts, I made it to the final phase. Who am I hitting? You, that little heart. Oh, we were close. We were close. Okay, we're getting it. No. Holy shit. What? Why did my dash not work? He was so close. I'm still not sure why we took damage there, but it was fine because the next attempt was looking even better. Yeah, there we go. So we did the DLC. We got through that pretty quick, right? That was, what, an hour probably? But we still have a long way to go before we get 300%. The first thing I wanted to do after defeating Saltbaker was buy out Porkrind's shop. But unlike in the base game, there aren't any run and guns to complete that will give us coins. Instead, we must enter the King's Leap, which is a series of parry challenges. They start off pretty easy though, so I defeated the pawns on the first try. This is awesome. The knight was definitely a step up and also happened to be my favorite of the bunch. I love these bosses, dude. This one took a few tries, but eventually I realized we could get away with punishing his bait attack and also managed to start double or triple parry punishing some of his attacks. Before challenging the next champion, I grabbed the hidden coin of this isle and bought a few items from Porkrind, including the broken relic, which my chat told me would be super important later on. The bishop definitely took a step up in difficulty. In order to be able to parry the bishop, you have to first snuff out all of the candles, while also dodging the bishop's head and projectiles. But with some careful movement, I was able to do it on my third try. Very close. The rook would toss up these parryable heads, and you have to parry them to send them back while also dodging the sparks being sent off of his grindstone. Okay, wait. This is really hard. But with enough patience, everything is pretty easy to avoid, provided you aren't trying to force any extra hits. So, I was able to do it second try. Yeah, there we go. The queen was definitely the hardest of them all. You have to aim these rotating cannons at the queen who is moving side to side, while also dodging the barrage of projectiles that only get more abundance later into the fight. This one's so much harder. As with the rook, after my first death, I played it a lot more patiently, and that did the trick. Okay, we got it. Never mind. We did it. Okay, did we get all the coins? No. Pretty sure there's an achievement for all coins, so we're missing some. Yeah, it turns out I missed talking to a guy on Isle 2, but that was easy enough to rectify. Yeah, there we go. There's the coin. High roller. And with that extra coin, if we go back to Porkrind, we can buy the last item for another achievement. There we go. Buy everything in Porkrind's shop. Huge. Unfortunately, after taking a look at our remaining achievements, I realized we weren't done with the king yet because we had to complete the gauntlet. Uh-oh. Is it just we have to do all 5 or 6 of those in a row without dying? Well, that is true. I was under the impression that you'd be carrying forward your health bar, and I'd only have 4 lives for the entirety of the gauntlet. Ah, shit. We're gonna be here for a while, guys. I'm just gonna retry it. You do not want to be losing lives on this one. We'll get some practice in, I guess. However, as long as you can make it past each boss, your health will be restored before fighting the next one. Oh. We got our lives back. That being said, it's by no means easy, because if you die at any point, you're back to the pawns. So I made sure to play it safe next time around. Bishop is hard too. Bishop's really hard. Okay, we'll get that after. Shit. Okay, that was so close. There we go. Okay. Focus, dude. Yeah, dude, let's go. That wasn't bad at all. We did that super fast. That was like, what, 3 tries? All right. Defeat the King's Gauntlet. Afterwards, my chat told me about a secret boss on this isle. But to unlock it, we have to solve this riddle. Don't help me, chat. Don't help me. This will be the hardest thing in the game for me, I think. It reads as follows. That contest of skill, that broken artifact, this eerie graveyard. I've discovered astral energy in all of these places. There must be an order and method to it. There's no way I'm getting this. I quickly figured out that you can interact with these graves and these ghosts will pop up. You can interact with 3 of them before they shake their heads and fly away to demonstrate that you got the wrong combination. So, naturally, rather than using my brain, I decided to try and brute force it, which went about how you would expect it to. But then I noticed something. You see, there are 2 paths that connect these gravestones. And if we simply follow this same path, absolutely nothing will happen because I was not even remotely on the right track. So it's the gauntlet, the thing I have, eerie graveyard. While the gauntlet does make sense here, it's not quite what the riddle is referring to. Then I noticed that after I stopped moving, Cuphead would keep looking right. At first, I was wondering if he was just looking at the next grave in the sequence, but no, my controller just has snapback. Although I told them not to help me, I can only imagine how excruciating this would have been to watch, so my chat gave me a hint to explore around the island. Oh, it's totally this. First place says, I'm the winner and all is right in the world. Second place says, second place just ain't right, down 1 place from last year. And finally, third place says, all I can do is throw my hands up left to wallow in third place. Even with this, it's gonna take me 8 years. Okay, but where's the starting point? I assumed it would be starting from the middle, but no, it doesn't actually let you. In fact, it wasn't letting me interact with the middle at all. But that's actually a big hint in and of itself. And I almost figured it out really early on. Unless they all start from the same point? Maybe they all start... no, that doesn't make any sense. This puzzle took me almost 20 minutes to figure out, which is more time than it took for me to A-rank basically any of the bosses in this game. Up and left. Okay, that was it. Dude, oh, we were so close. That wasn't actually that complicated. Take a little nap. Let's do it. Let's take a little nap. Oh. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Very confused. Oh, it's... I see. Oh, I wasn't even noticing them switch. It's the whole boss's change. The trick to this boss is that the blue angel's attacks won't hurt you, and the red devil's will. But every time you change the direction you're facing, the bosses will reverse. Oh my god, that's so weird. That's a really fun way to do a boss fight, but my brain is breaking. It hurts my brain. The trick is to face away from the incoming projectiles, but they're coming from both sides, there's this lightning cloud you have to worry about, and it's easy to run out of real estate. So I found this fight to be very difficult. I didn't even notice the thing in the background. Oh my god, this is crazy. Despite how difficult I found this boss to be, I still managed to beat it in half the time it took to solve the riddle. So I now know to stay away from puzzle games. After the fight, our broken relic is now transformed into the cursed relic. If we defeat enough bosses with this charm on, it will turn into the divine relic and we'll earn an achievement. But how exactly does this relic curse us? Oh, 1 life. Wait. Wait, what? Every time you press the shoot button or dash, your weapon will randomly change. I've never even used half of these. But I mean, it was Goopy Legrand, so it's not like any of these handicaps actually matter. Oh, stupid. The Cursed Relic isn't all bad though, as it combines many of your charms together, albeit as nerfed versions of themselves. There's a hidden point system to determine when you'll unlock the relic, and generally the harder the boss, the more points you'll get. I decided to go with a combination of bosses that I found to be easy, and also prioritize some plane levels because you're not as hindered by the randomly changing weapons. After Hildeberg, I went with the Root Pack, Cal's Robot, Briny Beard, Wally Warbles, and Werner Werman. There we go. Obtain great power. There we go. We're done. Now that we have the Divine Relic, we get all of those charm abilities with no downside other than the randomly changing weapon, of course. This will be my go-to for plane levels because, again, that doesn't offset all of the upsides, and we'll stick with Chalice for everything else. Next up is that Bravo Zulu achievement where we have to use the mini-plane bullet. Now, I know I just said I'd be swapping off of Chalice for plane levels, but because we can't use our super meter here or parry as a mini-plane, Chalice's extra hit point is our best option here. I was told the simple difficulty doesn't work for the achievement way back when I first attempted this, but thankfully, that was not the case. Had I known that, I probably could have easily completed this before, because simple mode skips the entire last phase, and that was the main thing giving us so much grief. But it should be done any second now. There it is. Afterwards, I focused on the Hi-Hat achievement, which has you defeat a boss on the 4th island without killing any of its minions. I went with Mortimer Freeze here because it seemed like the boss with the least impactful minions in the fight. I also brought out the charge shot for the first time. Rather than rapid firing projectiles, you charge this one up to deal a bunch of damage in one go, and that allowed me to be more precise with my shots so I don't accidentally kill any minions. It took about 5 tries, but once I reached the final phase and didn't have any ads to worry about, we got it done. We got it. Defeat a boss without killing any minions. Next up is the Hardy achievement, which has you get 9 HP at once. And this one is quite difficult. The Heart Ring charm will get you an extra 3 lives if you land 6 parries, and the King Dice fight can get you the remaining 3 if you land on all the heart spaces. But that also means landing 6 parries and getting through the entirety of the King Dice fight without ever getting hit. And some of these fights have gotten much harder now that we don't have Smoke Bomb. Not used to doing it without Smoke Bomb. I'm so carried by it. But, to my surprise, on just our second try, we had a bit of a run going. Okay. Okay. 2 more lives. Safe. Now I need a 3. Oh my god, we're one away. Oh! I don't think these count. No! This one's really hard. The monkey is probably one of the worst ones to get here because none of those parries count and this fight is very long. Shit, dude. I thought we'd have enough. I'm using it. Okay. What do I do now? What number do I want? Now, because none of those parries counted, we're in a bit of a predicament here. I had a feeling that the parries against King Dice wouldn't work either, so I could either chance it and jeopardize the whole run if I'm wrong, or I can land on Start Over and go for a boss that I know for a fact I can get more parries on. And I opted for the latter. Alright, so you're what's the easiest parryable item, would we say? 4 or 6? Okay, let's get a 3. Now we need a 2. Don't do it yet. Okay. I'll hold off. This is important. We are, like, so close. That was really dumb. Well, we're going 6 now. This was absolutely not the fight I wanted to jump into. It's hard to focus on dodging the present projectiles while also noticing and dodging the Ghost Rider. And sure enough... No! We were 2 parries away from getting that last heart, by the way. It took a good 30 minutes to get back to King Dice with 7 lives after that because I just kept coming up short. But when I finally did, I decided to take the chance on King Dice's cards. Okay, don't even shoot. Why is my health lower? Did I get hit? What happened? It bugged? Oh. You're joking. But now that I knew that parrying the cards worked against King Dice to get our Heart Ring lives, assuming that was a one-off bug of course, I decided not to worry about getting any parries on the way there and instead just focused on not getting hit, which made things much easier and I made it back on the next try. Okay. Dude, he did it again. It went down. Our health went down. That's so stupid. Ah, okay. Had the game not bugged, I'd have gotten this achievement twice over now, so I felt perfectly okay with opting for the cheese method of completing this achievement instead. If you equip the Twin Hearts charm and spin in circles outside, it will unlock the Game Jimmy. Then all you have to do is load into a fight and you'll already have the 9 HP. I then got a couple of the easier achievements for defeating a boss with Chalice's super, and beating our 10th boss with Miss Chalice. And after finally getting around to A-ranking the Moonshine Mob, I decided to go for the rarest and hardest achievement Cuphead has to offer. Cooked to Perfection, an achievement that requires you to S-rank one of the DLC bosses. For those unfamiliar, S-ranks are only given out if you can manage to get a perfect score against a boss in Expert Mode. Expert Mode boss changes can vary. Some bosses you won't really notice much of a difference, and others will see a huge difficulty spike. I was told Glumstone was the easiest to S-rank, so I gave it a go. Lots of his projectiles seem to be faster in Phase 1, and the berry picks up will go much further, forcing you to jump off the platform to avoid it. Phase 2 is much trickier because the ball is faster, and there are way more gnomes to worry about. And the final phase followed a similar pattern, so it took 15 minutes of attempts before I was able to piece it all together. Yes, I think that's it. Yes, that's both achievements. Let's go, dude. Okay, that didn't take too long. Done. And so, only one achievement remained. We have to complete the game in Expert Mode. We don't have to even A-rank them, it's just complete the game in Expert. But because it's only taken like 12 hours, I'm wondering, do we S-rank everything? I think we could do it. This was a very bold decision, and is entirely optional for the 300% run, but hey, how hard could it be? Let's start from the beginning. Chalice is really broken for S-ranking bosses. Thanks to that extra hit point, even if you take one hit, you will still get the full 3 for 3 HP bonus that you need for your S-rank. In fact, with our shield super, you can technically take several hits. And of course, having a double jump and invincibility roll doesn't hurt either. So I did a lot of the first bosses within a couple tries, though I can't imagine I would struggle too much with these even if I was using Cuphead. For Hilda, I used the Divine Relic and was able to make it to the final phase with 5 hearts on my second attempt, which secured my S rank. Blow him up. Blow him up. Oh, I don't know if that hit. Delay. Go. Okay. We're good. We're good. We have 5 lives. Oh, the time doesn't matter. Oh, sick. I've since looked it up, and specifically for S ranks, apparently you get about 10 seconds of leeway here, which is really nice. Cagney had a ton more projectiles, but I still managed to do it on the first try, which meant that the only boss in the first isle that took more than a couple tries was Ribby and Croak. In Expert Mode, they will often attack simultaneously, and the third phase is much faster. But compared to Glumstone, it wasn't bad at all, and it only took me 4 tries over the course of about 6 minutes to beat. Yes, dude! So, we're already moving on to Isle 2. I started off with Empress Von Bonbon, and I didn't really notice any expert changes aside from the second head, so I was able to S-rank it second try. Jimmy the Great, on the other hand, was definitely a step up from the previous expert bosses we had faced. He throws more projectiles at you and is just more aggressive in general. And the second phase in particular was giving me some trouble. Tricky to get damage in here to track him through the eyeballs. Go to top and bomb. Oh yeah, that's way better. It's... yeah, wow. Okay. I think I can hit him right now. Fuck, no. Yes! I think we did enough parries. 3, easy. Okay, that only took a few tries. Generally speaking, the S ranks get harder the further you get into the game, but Wally Warbles is a major exception. Despite only being an Isle 2 boss, this dumb bird is one of the hardest S ranks in the entire game. Okay, this one's crazy. The egg that this boss shoots now splits off into extra shells, making them so much more difficult to dodge. Plus, the handgun attack is much faster too. Luckily, the other 3 phases weren't buffed nearly as much as the first one, and the only differences I could spot was the extra egg circling the boss in phase 3 and the heart shooting an extra round of projectiles in phase 4. Damn, that's tough. Despite this being only my second attempt, had I not taken that hit in the first phase, we'd have already gotten our S rank. Or at least, that's what I thought. I was about 20 seconds too slow here. Time hadn't really been an issue so far in the S ranks, but for Wally, it's the major hurdle to overcome. And I definitely had some pretty crazy beginner's luck on that phase 1, because I'd say at least 75% of my attempts were lost to those eggshells. The few attempts that did go the distance were way too slow, mainly due to how I chose to avoid the eggshells. I generally went for the gaps closest to the middle shell. The problem with this strategy is that it encourages you to get closer to the boss, to the point where I'm either too close to react to the next egg, or I'll be completely out of the line of fire and missing out on damage. What you want to do instead is find this sweet spot between the back 2 projectiles. This gap is much easier to find, and because you're further back, it's much easier to track the boss with your bullets. I generally didn't struggle too much with the second phase, as long as I didn't start fishing for unsafe parries. Which brings us to phase 3. Phase 3 plays quite similar, but you want to get inside that ring as soon as you can when it starts leaving the boss. If not, it'll be harder to dodge, and you'll also lose out on quite a lot of damage because a good chunk of your shots will be blocked by the eggs. The mini bombs are key once you get to phase 4, and the pea shooter EX gets a ton of value if you can manage to land it safely. Please. Please be fast enough. Please be fast enough. We have 5 lives. Come on. Okay. Finally. That was by far the most difficult S rank up until this point, as it took us 30 minutes and 25 attempts. Next up is Beppy the Clown, which was supposed to be one of the easiest S ranks in the game. But because I kept making stupid mistakes, it took me another 30 minutes and about 20 attempts to get our S rank. Again, this fight is really not hard. I didn't notice too many changes in expert mode, but those stupid donkeys, that damn train, and someone please tell me how these penguins can throw these baseballs with such deadly precision. I'm going to move on now because I just want to forget about this guy, but I would thankfully somewhat make up for that embarrassing showing in this next fight. Grim Matchstick is mostly the same, but the clouds now move in the opposite direction. This one was one of those rare expert changes that I actually found to make the boss easier. Grim is positioned fairly high up in phase 1, so I was able to just use Roundabout to allow myself to face the direction of the clouds while still getting hits in. Then in phases 2 and 3, I no longer had to keep turning around with lava to get damage in, and could instead just keep jumping towards the boss. It's definitely still a tricky boss fight, but I was able to S-rank him after just 5 attempts. Is that it? Wait, did we just do that? GG, never mind, that took like just a few tries. On to Aisle 3. I started things off with Werner, who was basically the exact same, barring some extra ghosts in the final phase. So it took just 3 attempts. I thought Dr. Cal's robot would be really difficult considering how tricky he was in regular mode, but to my surprise, the only change that I could really spot in expert mode was that his final phase lasted a little longer. So I beat him on just my 3rd try. Similarly, Sally's stage play was basically the exact same, so we S-ranked her after just 4 attempts. That would have been it. It took too long. Wait, what? Never mind, we did it. Once again, we are saved by that little bit of leeway. Briny was super easy and one of the only S ranks that I did on my first try. And Honey Bottoms seemed to have some faster attacks, but I still managed to do it 2nd try. Yeah. It is fast enough. Okay. Which brings us to Cala Maria. In expert mode, she'll mix and match a couple of irregular mode attacks simultaneously, which can make things quite difficult to dodge. But honestly, most difficult of all is her 3rd phase, which they seem to make last even longer. I had a great run going 3 attempts in a row, but they all succumbed to the same fate. But on my 9th attempt, I figured something out. While it doesn't look like there's any room between the coral and the petrification ray, if you mini-plane and go right to the edge of the peaks and troughs of the reef, I was able to consistently avoid it. Oh! That was so close. Okay, we did it. With that, the final boss in Aisle 3 was Phantom Express, which surprisingly was yet another boss I S-ranked first try. I believe it's a little more aggressive in expert mode, but I didn't really notice much of a difference. So S, S, S. Guys, we just have the dice, the devil, and then the DLC. We are cruising. King Dice and his mini-bosses were mostly the same, and having practiced the normal fight a bunch for that 9 lives achievement, it only took about 10 minutes to clear. Which brings us to the devil. I was pretty nervous for this one, as I found this boss to be quite easily one of the hardest fights in the base game. However, we have Chalice now, and the only impactful difference that I could spot was in the final phase, where both the chips and tears were falling at a much faster rate. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that completed the game on expert. So we have all the achievements now. No. Yeah, the tiers make it hard, hey? But on my 6th attempt, I noticed a little gap between the falling chips and tiers, which made that final phase much easier. I think that's it. S rank. We did it. To get that final 24%, all we have to do is S rank the 5 remaining DLC bosses. And I started out with Mortimer Freeze. The first 2 phases don't change a whole lot, but the final phase gets much harder in this fight. Okay, what? That's insane. The eyeball shoots lasers much more frequently, there's an extra snow cone projectile, and the bucket projectiles come at you quicker than before. Also, this happened for some reason. Wait, what? Why did that kill us? We have our heart thing. You can still see it there. This boss should have taken much longer to defeat, but I really locked in on my 7th attempt in the last phase. Yes! S rank. The Howling Aces also seemed more or less the same, so it made sense that this would be my fastest S rank in the DLC, taking just 4 attempts. Duck, jump, 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 duck, jump. Almost feels like Undertale there. What's that? Boss? Undyne? I think it's a specific version. Did we just get it? Another S rank down. Esther, on the other hand, was much more difficult. The fight was chaotic enough on normal mode, but the speedier and more plentiful projectiles really tripped me up. But my biggest struggles came from phase 4, where the boss shoots more peppers at you, making this already tricky phase even harder. Dude, did we get it? It's just time. I was pretty slow because I missed the whole super. Please, 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 please. Yes! Yes! We did it! Okay. That one was tough. That one was really tough. Guys, we have 2 bosses left after 16 hours. I am very happy with how fast you've been doing this. And before we get to the Goliath that is the Saltbaker fight, it was time to take on the Moonshine Mob. I was expecting this one to be one of the easier fights on Aisle 4, but I struggled quite a bit with this one. Despite getting a pretty decent clear on just my 3rd try, I found it very difficult to get that timer down and get the full health credit. Eventually, I swapped around my weapons and went with Lobber and Roundabout. Lobber was great for stacking some extra hits in between phase transitions, and Roundabout is amazing for phase 2, and would also do more damage to the crack shot in the final phase provided my aim was good enough. No! Okay. Surely that's enough? Surely that's enough. Surely that's enough. That should be it. That should be it. One boss remains, and it's the hardest of them all. I only noticed one addition to this fight in expert mode, but it's a pretty substantial one. There are now 2 flames present in this fight instead of just 1. This might not sound like a big change, but it's yet another projectile to be constantly worrying about in this bullet hell phase. And I was quite shocked at how much harder it made the fight. And of course, they don't go away in phase 2. Now they're both on the floor, and I found them particularly constraining when there was one on each side of me. But if you can instead bait them both to a particular side, you can reclaim a lot of the arena and dodge the rest of the attacks easier. This one trick helped a ton and made this phase much more manageable. Okay. Hold. Everybody hold. Why would I roll there? Dude. And we had our super too. Oh my god, this could have been it. Phase 3 now has an extra saw blade, but the phase is pretty quick, so it's not too bad. And thankfully, the heart in the last phase seems to just be a little faster. So admittedly, once you get past his salt shakers, Saltbaker isn't too bad. And on my 17th attempt, I did just that and got our first expert kill. Now that we have that second phase in a good spot, time was good, parries were good. We just need to take 2 less hits. And just 5 attempts later. Dude, wait, this is a good run. This is a good run. All right, here we go. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. We needed it. We needed it. I lied. As I said before, the last phase is pretty free, especially if you're going into it with a shield and meter, but the pressure got to me. But it was clear that we could do it, and so far I've been cutting up all the boss fights, but for this last S rank, I'm going to play the clip in full. Alright, we're in a very good spot. We're pissing it away, though. Okay. Focus. Focus, dude. Why did you do that, dude? Shield? Shield? Come on. Hit him. Oh, it's gonna be like one more. Okay, 2 more. Come on. 3 more. 4 more. Yes! We did it, dude! We S-ranked every boss in Cuphead. Cuphead is such a masterpiece, and I'm so glad I decided to revisit this game to 300% it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.